Are lightweight e-bikes the future of enduro riding? By giving me the same buzz as an analogue enduro bike without prematurely running out of time or energy, I'm a convert. And in this video, with the help of the Mondraker Dune XR, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why. First up, at just under 20 kilos, a mid-power e-enduro bike like the Mondraker Dune XR is still lightweight, despite having a battery and a motor. That's especially impressive when you consider that bike weights have been creeping up recently, and the average weight of an enduro bike now is over 16 kilos. And that means that pedaling them to the top of the hill just gets harder and harder. To achieve that weight, Mondraker has enclosed the battery fully within the down tube. This removes the need for additional reinforcement and keeps the weight down. They've also used their finest stealth air carbon and a carbon rocker link to end up with a claimed frame weight of just 2.6 kilos without motor and shock. Despite this competitive weight, they haven't skimped on frame protection, with moulded rubber chainstay padding, a motor bash guard and a mud guard to limit spray reaching the shock. Compared to a full-fat e-bike, 20 kilos might not seem like much of a weight saving, but there's a big difference in how they ride. Bikes like the Dune are way more engaging and dynamic, so you can throw them around just like you would your favourite analogue enduro bike. Point number 2, and thanks to the new Bosch SX motor, the Dune still packs a punch on the climbs. The new engine pumps out a whopping 600 watts of peak power, supplied by a 400 watt-hour internal battery inside the down tube. If you're unsure what those figures mean, 600 watts of peak power puts it right up there with the full-fat motors found on bigger e-bikes, although it delivers that power in a very different way. The Bosch SX needs a high cadence of around 110 RPM to get the full power out of it, and it feels limp-wristed below 70 RPM. The lower torque figure of 55 Newton meters also means you don't have the same crawling ability on steeper climbs as you might on a big power e-bike. But I see that as a blessing rather than a curse. Having to spin your legs to get full power out of the motor makes you feel much more involved on the climbs. I feel like a pilot rather than a passenger. I'd compare it to feeling like I'm 10 years younger on my best day ever without feeling like I'm cheating. Point number 3 is all about range. Bigger batteries equal more range, but also more weight. And with a full-fat e-bike, you have to carry around that battery capacity on every ride, whether it's a sneaky hour before work or a full day at the weekend. The Dune lets you have your cake and eat it, because you can keep the bike light and chuckable for shorter rides by only using the internal battery, and throw on the range extender when you know you're going to be out all day, or riding with mates on full power e-bikes and rinsing turbo mode full time. That range extender brings a useful 250 watt hours to the party, giving the Dune a full fat equaling 650 watt hour max capacity, and adds an extra 40% range. While we're on the subject, on the launch for the Dune, I clocked up 1,000 meters of climbing in Tour Plus mode and still had 24% battery remaining, without a range extender. There's even a second bottle cage mount, so you can attach a range extender and bring along a water bottle. Point number 4, and perhaps the most important one of all. Mid-power e-enduro bikes are agile and capable, and that means that mid-power e-enduro bikes feel much more akin to riding a regular enduro bike than the numbers suggest. As I've already mentioned, the sub 20 kilo weight certainly helps, but there are other considerations too. Case in point, the Mondraker Dune has a mullet wheel setup with a 29-inch wheel up front and a 27.5 wheel at the back. This helps in several ways, with the smaller 27.5 rear wheel giving you extra clearance for your bum when things get steep and nasty, while the larger front wheel helps with stability when ploughing through rougher terrain and when diving into corners. The mullet setup also helps give faster turn-in on tight corners, which accentuates the feeling of agility. In terms of suspension, the Dune XR comes with a whopping 180mm of travel up front and 165mm of travel at the rear through a swanky Öhlins shock. Make no mistake, this bike is built for charging steep, rowdy, technical descents. My final point, and one that's easy to overlook, is that mid-power e-enduro bikes open up doors that just aren't an option on a regular enduro bike. Instead of booking an uplift day months in advance at a bike park, hoping that the weather will play ball, you can rock up at short notice, purchase a day pass, beat the lift queues and fill your boots. Or if you've travelled hours for a riding weekend at somewhere like Golfy, you'll get way more out of your ride time, packing in more laps and feeling fresher. So who are mid-power e-enduro bikes for? If you're the kind of rider that loves to pack in as many laps as possible on steep and technical terrain, you're going to love bikes like the Mondraker Dune XR. Adding the motor helps you keep cranking out the runs without feeling too knackered, and the spec and component choices make them a blast to ride on the way back down. The optional range extender found on bikes like the Mondraker Dune XR means they're also capable of covering respectable distances too. Mid-power e-enduro bikes are also suited to riders who have traditionally ridden analogue bikes and are thinking of taking the step up. While there's a difference in weight on the scales, that gap shrinks when you're riding, and the agility and sense of engagement are intoxicating. So a mid-power e-enduro bike will get you stoked as intensely as any analogue bike, let you extract the maximum descending from every ride, and you'll still feel like you've had a workout at the end of every ride. So are mid-power e-bikes the future of enduro riding? After experiencing the Mondraker Dune, I'm convinced that they are. But I'd love to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.